But how do you know when to close a trade? So Ishy submitted a question for the Q&A this week, which I think will be beneficial for a lot of you watching. So Ishy's question is, well, it's quite a long question, but we'll shorten it down. What would you say is the best indicators to close out a losing trade? There's a couple of other important points in that question, mainly time frames and hesitation, I think it was. I'll come on to those in a second because they're really important. But for now, the most significant thing that you need to bear in mind if you're closing out a trade is the fact that there is some kind of sort of significant change, and I think a lot of the time people are scratching around for like an arbitrary figure or reason, oh, you just get out when it's 4, or you get out at 5 minutes to post, or you get out 30 seconds before the start, and that's never really going to be an effective answer because all markets are different and there's so many different variables. But like opening up a successful trade, you need to have a significant reason to take action and change what you're doing, whether that's losing or winning, good or bad, doesn't really matter. So for example, how can I give you something hard? Media coverage can be quite influential over the markets, particularly in the short term. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean what is happening. That's very important, what is happening and things changing in the moment, but even with the perceived changes in the market. So I've seen it before now. Commentators said, oh no, this has happened, and it hasn't really happened. They made a mistake, but the market reacts. So you need to see a significant change. So the commentator making a big emphasis on the fact of something's happened, maybe somebody's injured, something like that. That can affect the market, and that would be a reason to change your opinion and potentially get out, particularly if it's going against you. So there's obviously that external side of things, you've got the internal side of things as well, you've got the markets, betting volumes. If things within the volumes, within the markets that you don't expect to see happen, or even don't happen, then that can be a reason to get out. So, there's 101 reasons to get out, just as there is to get in. I guess the things it comes down to is if you thought something was happening or was likely to happen, or a reasoning behind something, and that then doesn't happen, for God's sake, get out. You don't want to be opening the trade because you opened with good intentions and now you're just kind of like sitting on the wheel of hoping it goes your way. That's gambling. We're not in for gambling. It needs to be a valuable situation within the market. And that means there needs to be value present at that point in time. So the answer to your question is, what's the main indicator for it? Well, as soon as you realise that value isn't present to you there anymore, as soon as that value isn't available, as soon as the situation is no longer as important to you in terms of having the trade open as it was before, just get out, because you're on a whim and anything can happen. So an important thing that ties in with that, which also ties in with your time comment within the long form question there, Ishy, is market volumes, liquidity. Volumes within the market are one of the most important things, or the most important thing to us in terms of decision making. Now, yes, it is a lagging indicator to one degree or another a lot of the time. However, if the volume is there, or there's competing volume, I'm thinking horse racing here. If you've got, how do I be clear with this? If you've got 4 horses in a race and you're expecting something to happen on runner 1, and you've got good reasoning for that, and then volume significantly changes on runner 2, that's very influential to runner 1, then you need to reassess your position on runner 1 regardless of what's happening on runner 1, because alternate competing volume within the market is going to push against that. Drops in volume. Okay, so I've spoke about stuff previously elsewhere about different volumes, but often volume dips just before the start of a race, and it depends on other things such as coverage and whatnot. But when the volume dips, that is a point of vulnerability within the market, because there's not that driving money behind what you was hoping would happen or expecting to happen pushing it as hard anymore. So a dip in liquidity, that could be a reason, coupled up with the fact of it's not going as expected. So volumes are really important, and that centres obviously around time frames and other stuff like that. I won't go into that now. And also, I think from your question there, is there's a valid point raised when you said about hesitation, and the reason I've kind of picked on that, not to pick on you as such, I've seen many questions over the years. Lots of people have asked me questions. They're all, it's all learning, so it's all good. But when you say hesitation, that implies to me that you already know you're not doing what you should be. So it's almost like a mini admission to yourself if you've kind of like consciously realised it or not. And the same with the time frames. You obviously realise they're very important. I talk about it a lot within sort of the video course, and there's lots to talk about it on the forums and stuff. But you need to make sure you know the difference between a market reason to get out, a reason within the physical market to get out, and a reason within you to get out. If you're hesitating, rabbit in headlights, we've all been there one time or another, and you're being your own worst enemy is what I'm trying to say. So only you can answer that, because that's a very personal question, unfortunately. But I just picked up on that in your question there, because the hesitation comment made it look like to me that maybe you're fully aware that you're not doing some things that you should be, and you've already seen a reason to get out and you just haven't done it, and you're kind of looking for some sort of external validation. But that comes down to a lot of experience that I've had with myself and being fully aware within the markets over the years. And I guess I'm just wondering from the people that are probably watching this as well, if they're actually aware of that as well. So maybe a bit of discussion below. Let us know. Do you think that the big reason is that you don't get out in the right time at the most optimal point? Are you aware of it, or is it purely a market thing?